Hey YouTube. Today's topic, um, I got held against my will, or I guess taken hostage. I'm not sure really what's the correct term for it. But I'm able to speak about it now because it's not part of an active investigation. And this I was gonna make this video last night, but I was worried that I would get it report the crime and then get it a active investigation, and then they would use my previous video as evidence to kind of use it in that kind of one-on-one situation in courtrooms where they do like where they cross-examine the witness or who's ever on stand. So I thought they could use my video against me. But anyways, um that's not even the worst part about the crime. It was the actual experience reporting the said crime. And even though they didn't pursue, which I don't agree with, they didn't pursue to go and investigate the crime. And they told me what had occurred was not a crime, and it didn't explain, didn't offer a reasoning of what it had happened or what had occurred. And so to make this as short as possible, it's gonna be a long video. I really hope I can get everything in here. I went to my local police department this afternoon, and I spoke with a very nice police officer. She seemed pretty fresh to the force. She was pretty naive. She was kind of caring. This is kind of unique. I've never seen an officer uh, kind of be very genuine. Even though I gave her a weird kind of situation. I kind of explained what had happened, and she agreed with me that the situation was not great, and she kind of shared my sentiment, and I feel really I feel really confident that she kind of she kind of heard what I was saying. That's really what I wanted to get across, really. And then she kind of directed me to go to a different police department because the crime had occurred at a different jurisdiction. And so I had taken that to heart. So I went back home and I called my local, or not local, but I guess the local police department for that county. I did some research. I had to look it up. It wasn't too hard. It wasn't too difficult. I just had to look up like what the location and then where like which police department falls for that jurisdiction. And I called, and the lady on the phone, it was a deputy, I believe. They did not agree with what I was saying. They did not believe a crime had taken place. Um, they really didn't think anything had taken place. They're like, "I'm sorry, but we don't believe a crime had occurred." So they were still being genuine. It just wasn't as to like the first officers. So I could tell she was trying, but she was busy. I called her at a bad time. She had four different phone calls, which I believe, could have been um other likewise calls, because I had called the non-emergency hotline about reporting crimes, and I didn't want to call 911 to just call that police department. So I said, okay, well, I'll go explain it in person. And the reason I feel confident about that is because last night at 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I haven't slept for like two days almost. And last night at 2 a.m. I had this weird like autistic urge to go and write down what had happened. And I wrote it in Google Docs, and I wrote like a two-page, well, it's like, a page and like a couple of sentences, but it's a page and a couple of sentences of what had transpired in my alibi, the previous day, and then like what had caused me to have this incident, uh, which I'm not even as angry about anymore. It was very unsettling. The real topic today after that, I will post what had happened in this video. I'll show you a actual image of what I wrote down, but I'll blur out all the parts that are sensitive information, because that would it would be illegal to share that information since it's not part of an active investigation, and would put out some people's personal details out there. So as long as I just cross it out, I believe there shouldn't be any issues. Plus, no one's gonna really see this anyways. Anyways, the real issue was when I went to the police department, that actually had transpired, like the jurisdiction that they were under, and everything went well. The receptionist, the lady at the front, was really great. She helped me out. It was a way better reception than I had at the first police department, but the officer made up for it at that location. And what had happened was I got um I got some time to speak with an investigator, because that's what I was recommended to do from the previous officer. So I got to sit down with an actual investigator. This is like my first time kind of ever reporting my own crime, I guess. And I was walked into this very luxurious area, like this kind of area, like of their background. Like I didn't realize how big this police station was. It had just complete um crazy crazy architecture. It was quite beautiful to see this police station. It's very awe inspiring. Like this was very comfortable. This is like you hear, like you see in the, like those medias, like police stations look super uncomfortable and like unbearable to like stay at. But this was like very luxurious for the police officers. They're cozy back there. I'll tell you that. Anyways, I go to his office and I explain what happened, and he was trying to um interview me as I was the actual perpetrator and not the victim. Which was a little strange because I had explained to him that I was held against my will, and he had told me, without getting onto all the details, this because this is even crazier than the actual story, which is so crazy to me, is why didn't I hit the person who was holding me against my will? And I was like, this is very strange. And I told him that would have been assault, because they didn't touch me, and it was very strange because normally, yeah, you would assume that if you're being held against your will, you would try to fight back. But this situation was so bizarre; it didn't really call for a I don't believe it called for violence. I just believe it was a misunderstanding, and I got held against my will uh, because it was a misunderstanding. Like, but still, I shouldn't have been in that situation. And anyways, he told me, why didn't I hit the person? And he asked me this question twice, and he tried to portray it as I could have been the aggressor in the situation, which is why I was being detained by the said subject. And I was just baffled. I could tell this was what he was doing because during the interview I didn't really know this, but for the investigator, he, instead of looking at me and making eye contact, he just put a camera down on his desk and he recorded it that way. Instead of speaking with me directly, he would sit at his desk and look at his computer. He didn't make eye contact with me about any of the questions that he had asked. Yeah, he kept his questions to a minimal and tried to let me do all the talking, which is, makes sense. But the questions he had weren't really related to the incident. They were just like, okay, and did you hit her? Um, which is really strange because it would make me seem like an aggressor. uh, I don't know if there was some tension there, like some racial tension, or if he was just fishing for something. I did tell him that me and the subject, we almost did crash into each other because of how it happened, because she was blocking a doorway for preventing me from leaving the premises, and she wouldn't leave for 3 to 5 minutes. And he told me 3 to 5 minutes doesn't really constitute as being unlawfully detained. And I tried to do all my research last night, and any amount of time that you were stuck somewhere is considered an unlawful detainment. And I really wanted to just, try to see, um just try to tell someone that, like, yo, this is kind of fucked up. Like, I got detained while I was actually just doing my job. My job was already done. I was ready to go to my next location. Um, I was, doing some delivery runs. I delivered my equipment, and I was off to the next place. I got stopped by a random person. I don't even know who they are to this day, and they wouldn't let me leave the building. They confined me to a small room without asking for my consent or anything. It was very unusual. I tried to explain it that way, but he didn't really feel um, like it was worth investigating, pretty much. Now I feel like the main issue of that is because it took a while for me to really like speak out about it. I was just really upset about the whole instance. I literally quit my job a day after. It was insane. I just couldn't really have any confidence in, being safe. Being safe, kind of like doing my job, just, delivering stuff. Like, I'm by myself and I'm a smaller individual. I'm only 5 foot tall, and I have to be on my guard against some random strangers who confine me to a room. And the police don't, that specific investigator and his deputy didn't seem to see it that way. And now the biggest issue is because I live in a city. The incident took place in a town. So I was believing there was some, there was some kind of, oh, he's a townie trying to protect my, trying to protect my citizens. I hate these townies coming in, messing up the place. I was just doing my job, but I could pick up that there was some um, aggressive, negative attitude there. He wasn't really, putting any input or anything like that. He just said, "Yeah, not a crime. You can detain anyone you want without cause." Now, I thought maybe he thought I was speaking like maybe I got unlawfully detained because they thought I was an immigrant, because of my like skin color. That was what I was assuming because I totally forgot. I don't really talk to anyone like in person anymore, and I totally forgot like skin colors and issues is this day, and like how like racist people are. I always forget like people are just really like hateful these days, and I was just blown away because I didn't really expect to have that kind of treatment at a police station after having my first encounter with that first police officer at the beginning of the day. It have really go really well that I felt confident enough to pursue this because I had to drive an hour and a half away to this specific police station, and my car has no AC. So, it was a fun ride with the windows down. I couldn't even use my radio because if I used my radio in that dumb car, I could have broke down my engine. The battery would have died, and I would have been stuck on the side of the road. So I drove to this police station in the middle of nowhere, in this big field. They have their own prison, which it's like it's like small, small town, and it was just a really weird experience. But if you're interested in me getting like actually like I guess held against my will, besides the actual encounter, feel free to leave that in the comments. I feel like as of now, the actual encounter with the investigator was more of a crazy trip. I felt like they're not the whole racism thing beside. Okay, let's just pretend the racism thing it wasn't even true, right? He was I don't know if he was having some misogynistic like episode where he was like, "Why didn't I hate that woman so she can move out the way?" That's how it came off as. It was kind of bad shit, insane. Um, but yeah, I feel like someone needed to know that. Like, I kind of get why people are afraid to go to the police sometimes. For like these crimes that have happened like previously, and they're kind of like afraid to speak up about it because it's like pretty traumatic experiencing it, and then they're given a hard time when they go in to report it, and then they go like, "Yeah, that's not a crime." Actually, yeah, it's just not a crime. And I feel like they're protecting someone or something, or they just don't really care enough to be interested at all. But I hope someone could find some enjoyment out of that. Like, if you're like a cynic person, um, not the whole interaction, but like people not caring about that and just kind of not really caring and letting stuff slide. I don't want people to feel like too compassionate about this incident because it wasn't really that bad. It was just kind of unsettling, and it was kind of weird. Um, that bad as in I wasn't hurt or anything. I was let go, but I feel like other people aren't as lucky or um fortunate enough if there was an actual situation. So hope y'all enjoyed this video, and if y'all enjoyed this, I hope leave a like, comment. What do you think about this situation? I would really love to hear some feedback because this is such a weird situation. When you go to report a crime and they don't take it seriously, and they kind of come off as a like self interest are in there. I'm not really sure, but you know hope you have a great day. Hope it was better than mine. See you, YouTube.